In the realm of indie gaming, many titles end up being inspired by cult classics of our childhood. For example, Eiyuden Chronicle, inspired by Suikoden, or Spy Drops, inspired by Metal Gear Solid, to take two recent examples. The game we're gonna talk about today is a little similar, as it was inspired by Donkey Kong Country, Mega Man, and probably a few others that I never played. Grab yourself something to drink, and maybe a nice meal, cause we're about to talk about Super Catboy. The game starts on an airship, where our protagonist Catboy is currently on a rejuvenation tank, around anthropomorphic dog soldiers, but not for long. The airship is about to crash, and when Catboy wakes up, the first level starts. As with most platformers, we'll be heading into a jungle/meadow biome to begin with. Very quickly, in the same level, we'll meet Weapon Girl that will provide us with a little tool to defend ourselves. A gun, or a pistol more precisely. I guess that's all she could afford to give us. A few seconds later, a dog will destroy the bridge under our paws and lead us into a cave area with our first checkpoint. Here, we'll dispose of many enemies, climb back up to another checkpoint, and continue until we reach the end of the level. There, we'll have a special event, if I might call it this way, where several dogs will appear from left and right. We'll have to kill them to continue, either with a gun, melee attack, or with a jump, like in a Mario game. Next level is very much a continuation of the first. We'll meet Weapon Girl once more. She'll tell us that something here is fishy, that the dogs are after us, and that her bike is parked not far from here. We'll continue on our way until we meet her again. This time she'll give us shoes that will allow us to dash and thus go much faster. This is the second and last upgrade we'll get during all of the game. If we replay the first mission from now on, we'll automatically have the pistol and the shoes equipped, and all the talk with Weapon Girl skipped. Obviously, those dash shoes allow for much more skill expression, and to go much faster. But it also becomes really hard not to die when dashing everywhere, and probably require a good knowledge of each level. It also probably makes Super Catboy an enjoyable game to speedrun. After swinging from a few liana, we'll reach the end of this level, where Weapon Girl is waiting for us with her bike. The next level is gonna be completely different, as we're gonna ride that bike while the dogs are chasing us, and it is easily the level I dislike the most in the entire game. First of all, I do sadly feel motion sickness while playing through it, which is never a good experience, but the worst part of it is really when you try to 100% the game. You see those coins, we need to collect them all. We also need to grab the 4 golden cat statue parts, very similarly to the Kong hidden in Donkey Kong Country levels, but that's much easier to do than it was back then in Donkey Kong Country, as they are not hidden that well. The last thing you'll need is to kill every single enemies in the level. Since that level is a side-scrolling level, and enemies tend to disappear if you don't kill them fast enough, you better be quick, and most likely to go melee with them, as the gun is pretty unreliable here. Other than that, the level is pretty short, as are every level in this game. So if you're just playing the game for fun, without wanting to do the 100%, that's alright. But I'd argue that the game is really short. I'm talking about a game that takes roughly 2 hours to complete, if you're just playing through it to see the ending, and that people are meant to attempt the 100%. In this case, you'll need extreme precision and to know that level perfectly to be able to complete it. Upon completing that bike level, we'll meet Gadget Grandpa, grandfather of Weapon Girl. They'll talk about seeing an airship being loaded at the Villa Ungefug. Ungefug, an old crazy scientist that passed too much time on Nekopara, is the prime suspect and will visit his villa in search of clues. The next 2 levels will be the Haunted Mansion kind. We'll also have Weapon Girl pull some tsundere stuff on us via communication. The first level is pretty forgettable, but the second one is much more interesting. We need to find 4 gems on the 4 corners of the map to open the door to the secret lab. The first gem will be found in the entrance. The 2 next will require us to deal with a lot of verticality and to climb some rope, but luckily, Catboy has some sick wall jumps. As for the last one, we'll find a flamethrower and we'll have to kill waves of enemies to obtain it. It is the only time in the game we'll be given this weapon, and we won't be able to keep it, unfortunately. We are now in the lab, where most anthropomorphic animals were created. It is pretty heavily guarded, and unlike the previous level, that was mostly platforming, avoiding traps and bats, lots of bats, here we'll mostly fight our way through until we reach the second part. That second part will be some kind of boss fight, if we can call it that. We'll be fighting against Catgirl. She is beyond godlike and ultimately impossible to beat. And as we lose the fight, Weapon Girl will appear to save and bring us back to Grandpa. There, we'll meet with a policeman that hung a thug called on us. Weapon Girl will be grounded home, with an uncle device preventing her from helping us in the future. As for Catboy, he is just a cat, and the cop doesn't give a damn about it. Weapon Girl will decrypt the data we found by infiltrating the mansion, and we are now heading to a mine. Here, there'll be a new type of enemy, the moles. They hide if you get too close to them, so the gun is the best way to get rid of them. But ignoring them also works, as they aren't that dangerous. We'll activate a lever to open a door and then run as fast as possible, since some doofus thought it would be smart to make the roof collapse on us. We'll now hop into the minecart. That level is very similar to what Donkey Kong Country did in the past, and sometimes requires cyborg-like reflexes. But overall it is a better time than the bike level. As we reach the end of the level, we'll meet the first real boss of the game, a giant mole. Its patterns are always the same, and once you know what it does, you'll have no problems dealing with it. First of all, it will begin by digging into the ground and sending small pebbles on us that we have to dodge. That part is probably the hardest, as dodging everything can be painful and there is a bit of RNG. After that, it will come out and try to hit us with a clean pickaxe hit, which is pretty easy to dodge. We can easily climb on the walls to do so. Then, it will stand idly, waiting for us to smack his butt for approximately 2 seconds. Rinse and repeat, and you have the entirety of that boss fight. Next level is in the Raining Mountains. Another level full of verticality and where it's mostly all about platforming, with flying saws trying to butcher us everywhere. One problem of this game is that when you get hit once by some trap, like the saws or some enemies, you can very well be completely doomed, as you end up being hit non-stop for the next 5 seconds until you die or fall off a cliff. That's why the game is supposedly so generous with how often we find health by killing enemies. Sometimes, we also find enemies completely blocking a ledge, and climbing up is almost impossible, as the second we try, we are getting whacked. The levels we are about to enter are guilty of some of that. Welcome to the ice levels, as there had to be at least one. In this case there are 2, but these 2 could very well be one longer level, and nobody would see the difference. Weirdly enough, those ice levels are some of my favorite in the game, as I like a lot the soundtrack, and overall, ice levels are my jam. Super Catboy has a pretty good soundtrack, maybe not Donkey Kong Country level, but better than most. The next level will be a nice laboratory, with giant and small stalactites falling from the roof, very cat friendly. Following that, we'll enter the factory level. There aren't that many enemies here, but it's full of traps, lava, saws, even the bouncing balls can screw you up really badly. Definitely one of the hardest levels in the game, but overall quite easy compared to other platformers. But Super Catboy isn't a hard game to begin with. The next level, still a factory level, adds burning barrel and acid to the mix, which makes it even more unforgiving. Seriously, look at that. I'm sure it's illegal in some countries. Luckily it ends well for me, but it could have been really nasty. Toward the end of that level, we'll have to fight a wave of enemy in order to continue. Enemies in these games are most of the time dogs, but they behave differently. Big dogs' weapons can be dodged by ducking, and they take 3 hits to go down. Small dogs shoot low, so you cannot duck to avoid their guns, but they only take 1 hit to go down. There are other differences, like the huskies shooting 3 times instead of once, but I probably did not notice them all if I'm being honest. Next mission will be in the treetops. Yeah, I think right now is the moment the developers were like, fuck it, we're putting the maps we have left in a random order. More seriously, that map was probably too hard to put earlier in the game, and the developers would probably prefer to have a smooth difficulty curve instead of putting a level that is way too difficult early on. Because it's true that this level feels like it could be the 3rd level of the game, thematically, but since it's one of the hardest levels in the game, it wouldn't have worked out well. Outside of that, the level is a lot of tight platforming, In the middle of the level, we'll have to fight waves of enemies, but this one is made easier by ropes hanging from the ceiling. We can hold on to them and attack when the time is right. Note that Catboy has a pretty good dive kick that is maybe a bit hard to aim, but is relatively safe. As we end that level, we'll face the second boss of the game, a dog. Same as before, that boss has pretty easy patterns, but an even bigger health pool. The dog will begin by firing his Gatling gun. To avoid it, we'll need to climb on him and hide on his head. Then he'll throw a grenade that we can send back to him to do damage. He'll then run in our direction to slap us. We can now climb on the wall to pass behind him. Rinse and repeat until he dies. Now what I did is spamming dive kicks whenever I could, which is risky, because the dog will attempt to slap whenever you get too close. It's a bit RNG based, as sometimes the dive kick doesn't properly connect with the dog because of some hitbox problems. Once we beat the boss, Weapon Girls will be able to guess where to go next in a dialogue with Ungefug. She also was able to get rid of that ankle restraint device that the cop put on her, so she'll be your personal driver to catch that train. In the train level, we'll fight our way from the last train car to the first. There will be some interesting things, such as a fight sequence where we'll be handed a shotgun and another one with a Gatling gun. We'll have to jump from a train car to the next as they split, and finally the classic dodging things while running on top of the train, which I admittedly did pretty badly. Upon reaching the driver's seat, the train will stop and will now be in a canyon. That level is a mix of platforming and fighting, but with a bigger emphasis on the former. Compared to the previous level that added a lot of new things, there really isn't anything new here. We'll see the same old saw and ropes, lots of verticality. It's basically a filler level, but it's not a bad one. Next level is a continuation of this one. It is also one of the shortest levels in the game. There will be a fight early on between two checkpoints, a bit of easy platforming, and the end is really not long after. That level leads straight to the third boss of the game, the Bull. Once again, very simple patterns to learn. The Bull will punch the ground, thus making the walls shake, which can make us fall, but it's not always the case. The best thing to do is simply wait until he ends up charging, then jump to dodge. He'll get his horn stuck in the wall, time to kick his ass. After having his ass kicked, he'll start jumping everywhere, and we need to dodge him as he can hurt us there. You know the deal by now. Rinse and repeat and seal the deal. Now that we've dealt with him, we'll hear about Ungefug claiming that the train was a diversion to lure us away from the city. There is now an army of dogs taking over the city. Time to go to Ungefug's airship. Weapon Girl will reveal to us that she in fact has a pilot license. That's great. We are getting closer to the end of the game, and this level is simply, in my humble opinion, the hardest in the entire game. Lots of platforming with traps everywhere, and the wind is pushing you backward every 10 seconds or so. We'll often need to wait before committing to jump because of that, or simply risk falling in a hole. Note that the game over screen, once you lose all your lives, is pretty savage. I do believe that there are multiples of them. Losing all your lives just make you restart the level from scratch and reset your checkpoints. Nothing more though. The game is really not punitive at all. Toward the end of the level, we'll meet a new enemy type, the armored dog with a shield and a tonfa. We won't see that one much more in the future, which is a shame. His shield makes him impossible to gun down, but the melee attack works well on him. After that, we'll have another round of fighting, and the level is finally over. Next level is the longest in the game, but no more wind this time. We start the level by following a platform, which is extremely safe unless you're here for the 100%. Then you'll have to jump to get rid of enemies and collecting coins. There is a door blocking us, and to get rid of it, we'll need to go down the stairs and break a few things. As we break those things, some explosive monsters will appear to bother us. They can easily be dodged or killed with one bullet. I would advise against going melee with them though. Now that the door is open, we can go to the second part of the level. There is a giant door which needs 4 tokens to be opened. We'll need to find them here. We'll first go on the top of the map. There are doors that open only after knocking out all of the enemies in the area. We'll do that. As the last door opens, we'll have to fight the Bull once more. I think you got it. The 4 tokens are the boss we've beaten throughout the game. We'll beat that Bull black and blue and then continue on our way to the next one. Each boss beaten gives a checkpoint, so unless you're running out of lives, it is pretty hard to be screwed here. Those bosses are also easier than before, as we can farm ammunition on normal enemies before fighting them. We were previously limited to only the 12 bullets we have at the start for the previous bosses. So we can stock ammo for the boss we do not like if it really comes to that, but none of them is hard. We'll then slide down a hole to find the big dog. Once again, his health pool is disgustingly big, but we'll be just fine. The next one will be found on the bottom of the map as well. We'll climb down a few ladders and jump over some obstacles to find the mole. Same as before, no big deal. Now, if you followed what happened during the game, you might wonder, who will the fourth boss be? After all, we did only defeat 3 bosses. Maybe Catgirl? The boss we couldn't beat? Well, no, it's not gonna be Catgirl, but a shark. And we are not gonna fight him, as he is very unhappy with his treatment here. You see, that shark asks for salt water, and not fresh water, and simply won't fight in those conditions. He'll surrender his token to us and let us go. I suppose that shark was either a scrap boss fight or just meant to be a joke like now. Whatever it is, we are now in possession of all the tokens and we can continue. We are now in the cockpit of the airship. Ungefug will once again use his ace, Catgirl. We'll once again have to fight Catgirl, but this fight will be doable at least. Catgirl is relatively quick, but she's also quite squishy. I did personally beat her by mashing a few dive kicks, and she didn't even beat me once. But overall she throws knives and teleports at you. The rest of the time she waits for you to hit her. As Ungefug rages, Weapon Girl shows up and takes the mad scientist into custody. All the animals working under Ungefugs are now allowed a more or less normal life, working jobs that fits them. Gadget Grandpa will even adopt a few of them. Everything will be credited to that cop that we've seen earlier. You get it, the usual good ending. I do believe that Super Cat Boy is a decent platformer. It is by no means a must-play, but it does a few things well. There is nothing really terrible about it. It is a pretty short game, so it can be done in an evening. I wouldn't recommend anyone to do the 100% of it, as it looks like torture to me. But the game holds some value, just don't expect anything hard.